Welcome back, Phoenix Knights, to another Phoenix Table Talk. I'm your host, John Harry, the Director of Relations. Now, if it's your first time to the show, this is where we build a big enough table for you to ask your questions and get the latest updates on what's happening in the PCC ecosystem. So be sure to stick around towards the end. These shows usually last about 30 to 45 minutes, where you can find out the latest happenings within PCC. Now, what to expect on this show? I love bringing on a partner, but this time I brought my direct line manager, Paul, VP of Business Development and Operations. Now, you would have probably spoken to Paul within our Discord, but now it's a chance for you to see his face, hear his voice, and find out not just his origin stories, what he does at PCC, and more importantly, what he's working on to take us to a profitable and sustainable business model. So, without further ado, if everyone could give me a round of applause to bring Paul up.
Hey, can you hear me okay, Jordan?
We can. Welcome to the show, sir. It feels really weird, Paul, because usually I'm reporting to you, but now you're in my domain.
100%. And usually I'm not in a suit either. But one of my old colleagues at PCC always dress for the position that you aspire to, not for the one you currently have. So I'm really happy to be here, and I'm really happy to show my face and have a conversation with you that other people can kind of learn from, hopefully.
Thank you, Paul. And internally and externally, we know it's really important that people see it's more than just Eric, Luke, me delivering, of course, the communications, but also there's real people, real nest holders as well that work for PCC. So we'll start, Paul, with how do you define Paul, and what is your origin story with PCC?
Yeah, so it's kind of a crazy one. I invested in PCC around mid-February. My mom and I threw in a boatload of money to us, and I just really wanted to get myself ingrained in the community. I started attending AMAs regularly, getting involved in the Discord. You guys might have known me as my previous title, which is MLaw 703. And on April 4th of this year, I was attending an AMA as an audience member, raised my hand, wasn't expecting to get called on, and I jumped up and I asked two questions, which really got the attention of Luke and Eric, Luke in particular. And he said that he was going to talk to me offline. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, he's placating me. It's fine. I get it, and not 30 seconds after the AMA ended, Luke slid into my DMs and was like, this is my Telegram. Let's start having a conversation. Him and I started talking. He really liked the way my mind worked. And, on April 18th, I had effectively closed down my consulting business and started full time at PCC. And what's really nuts is we don't have this in the States, but April 18th of this year was Easter Monday, so we didn't have Easter Monday. So I'm like ready and raring to go. I'm super excited to start, and everyone's like, it's a holiday. Your direct report is in the UK. And I was like, it's not a holiday for me. Like, I need my login. I need to get going. Like, I want to be a part of this as fast as possible. It took about 3 weeks from the 18th of me just operating internally to get promoted to VP of Business Development. So that was towards the beginning of May. And then, due to some circumstances out of my control, I also inherited the VP of Operations part of my job title a little over 40 days ago. So I'm super excited to be here. I say this in the Discord, and I'll say this to you right now, Jordan. I consider myself a nest holder first. I'm by no means a whale. I put a lot of money to me into this entity, and I'm very passionate about it working for me and for everyone else. So just a little bit about me and my PCC origin story, if you will.
And I have the same passion, which hopefully everyone has seen, because of course I've been here from day one as a nest holder. Some people do forget that, right? That I believe, I'd like to think 90%, if not every single employee holds a nest. We are all investors, arguably first. So we have skin in the game, right? As you said, Paul, not all of us are whales. In fact, the majority of us aren't whales.
The majority of us aren't whales, and like all of my colleagues that I work closely with every day, we're what you would consider average nest holders. Like I have 14 nests. I compound it every last dime. I bought 27 Fire back in February. If you want to do some historical reference, you can figure out how much I put in initially. And I compound it like crazy. So, we are nest holders first. And that's really the narrative that's been playing inside especially for the last 40 days since July 1st. Like, we need to have a nest holder first mentality. We need to start communicating with everyone on an equal footing. We need to start having conversations that might be tough, but they're definitely worth having.
They certainly are, Paul. And on top of that, because some people may not know your illustrious history, right? And I hear this a lot. I hear the feedback from the community, like, Jordan, can you just dig a little bit deeper into the partners? Who have they worked with? What success have they had before joining PCC? Because ultimately, it does give gravitas. It gives credibility to who you are, Paul. So in a past life, what are one or two of your most proudest moments?
Oh, man.
Personal and professional.
Yeah, personal and professional. I was not expecting to have this. I think one of the things that's super cool is back in 2004, I met my favorite. I love underground hip hop, and I met my favorite underground hip hop artist, and I actually was able to start a record label that I maintained and ran through college. I got to work with folks like Wu-Tang Clan, Tech Nine. We did background vocals for Marilyn Manson. Did some work with D12. So that was really cool, and it also kind of built and harnessed my entrepreneurial spirit, because I did attend university, but I always wanted to be out there hustling, building businesses, and doing my own thing. So that would probably be one of the coolest professional things that I've done, and then one of the coolest personal things. I'm a proud father of two. My little girl will be 3 years old in 4 days, and my little boy just turned 9 months 2 days ago. So just a little bit about me, make you aware that I'm not a robot. I'm actually a person. So yeah, I think those are two things that I'd love to share with the community. Thanks for the question, Jordan.
You're welcome. And thank you for the vulnerability, giving us a little peek behind the curtain, because we'll be seeing you again, and we'll be hearing from you a lot more as well, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now we come on to something which arguably is the elephant in the room. And I know it is the most asked question for the past month or two, which comes to maintenance fees. And it's one which we've been criticized for maybe not addressing directly. We've been criticized for reducing fees either too late, either the fact that the fees are still here. So, Paul, I'm putting you in the hot seat right now and asking you, why should a nest holder be paying their nest fees right now? Because calculations now show that nests are running at a loss.
Yeah, Jordan. Okay. So I think first and foremost, like, it's just really important to be candid with all of you. We understand. I do the math every day. We understand that at the moment, nest fees are running net negative. The last time I did the math, if you're not boosted, if you're an average nest holder like me, one claim a month, it's costing $3.56 was the last time I did the math myself, which was this morning, to carry a nest. And addressing this is 100% our top priority. The bottom line is these fees are what are running our operations right now. And without them, we can't operate. So, one of the things that we're asking you to do, and I know that as an investor, I hear it so often, and it's kind of the narrative that we have for PCC, is we're asking you to bear with us as we try and phase into something that's more profitable. We have partnerships that are going to be going live soon, on the horizon, as well. In 4 to 6 months, we have Combat Waffle, which is something that we're super excited about. Like, there is a road to profitability. But if we can't get through these lean times with the maintenance fees that we have right now, then we're not going to get to that light at the end of the tunnel. Kind of like the Metallica song. If we don't have these maintenance fees right now, that light at the end of the tunnel turns into a freight train. And we are doing stuff first and foremost internally to try and establish a roadmap to removing fees. One of the first things that I think is super important to address is, and man, I'm probably going to ramble here, so I'm just gonna kind of go for it. So if you need to cut me off, let me know. But one of the things that we're doing in a roadmap to removing fees is kind of important to me personally. V4 that we have coming out will allow nests to be tradable. I think that this is super important because there are some people that just flat out they can't afford to be in a negative nest situation, and we want to give them the opportunity to get out and give those nests to people that do believe in the project. We think that it's important, and we've heard the community saying they just want out. So we want to give the people that want out the opportunity to get out, and the people that want more the opportunity to take more. And the other thing that we've been doing is internal cuts. All of the C-suite has taken salary cuts. We've cut business expenditures, and we've also cut a number of staff. To quantify that for you, between business expenditures and salaries that we've either reduced or had to shed, we've already saved over $2 million annually, which is a little over 30% of where we were operating at. When we came in and this company started in January, a few months before I came on board, we were gearing up for a fast-paced bull market, and now we're bracing ourselves for an extending bear market. And one of the things that you have to do to survive as a business is to kind of assimilate to the situation at hand. I don't think anyone saw an 80% market crash coming at the end of April, but I as a nest holder and as someone that's part of this company wants to make sure that we make it through these hard times. And we know it's lean. We know it's going to be kind of a ramen moment for the next few months. But these are the steps that we're already taking to accommodate our community. And I think one of the things that I'd really like, and I think the community would really like too, is kind of setting up a roadmap to removing fees that we can share both internally and externally. And that's an initiative that a lot of us as nest holders first are pushing in the company. So I think that was probably the longest answer I've given in the 4 months we've been working together, Jordan. I think that's the most you've probably heard me talk at once. But if there's not anything I didn't address in there, feel free to prompt me. But that's kind of me just laying it all out, being a little vulnerable and getting put on the spot a little bit, but just telling you what I'm thinking and feeling.
And that is, at least I'm speaking on behalf of the community, and I try my hardest not to do that. Right? I try to echo their voice instead of speaking on behalf of the other. However, seeing the feedback day in, day out, and knowing that we both go to war for the community, that's exactly what they wanted. And I know immediately after this, Paul, what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop up that little segment, whether you like it or not, and we're going to make sure that every nest holder sees that clip, whether they like it or not.
Okay. I'm learning a lot on this show, Jordan. All right. No problem.
But in all honesty, Paul, I am very confident that when that clip does the rounds and people hear that message, there will be no confusion in where we're going, where we've been, and more importantly, that roadmap to removing the fees. Right now, it's like an ambiguous timeline. Right? It's like, okay, well, when are fees going? What needs to happen for fees to be removed? Right? Is it just we need to be making $1 million in revenue from our partners for the maintenance fees to be gone? So I know that internally we're going to be speaking immediately with Eric and the marketing team to be putting together something that is very simplistic, but everyone can see what's in progress, what's been accomplished, and what needs to happen before fees can be removed. So thank you, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of thank you for the synopsis of those events. I did not know that I was going to have the opportunity to be turned into a meme potentially, but we just kind of roll with the punches here. And I think that the bottom line is the community deserves, whether it be the thought behind the actions for the questions that people have, like someone just kind of, I think of an example earlier this week where we were getting some constructive criticism, and I'm putting in 12 to 16 hour days and community sentiment and interaction is still extremely important to me. So there'll be nights where, I'm 14, 15 hours in and I jump into the Discord because that's where it all started for me. And I really made some amazing friends in that community that I care about dearly. So making sure that when we get those critical questions, we answer with honesty and transparency, and we explain our thinking behind them is, something that is almost as high of a priority for me as what I do internally in PCC. It's definitely a forward-facing and inward-working position.
And I can attest to that, working so closely and even more day in, day out with you, Paul. And that's why I'm excited to bring you on more in the future. If, of course, you're welcome to come back. And
depends on the quality of memes that we get out of this snippet you just told me about, Jordan.
I'm confident it will go down as well as it can because it's long overdue. Long overdue. 100%. And with time being on the topic, I know we're coming towards the end because we need you to get back to your 16-hour shift. I have one final question from you from the community,
sure.
Which usually I answer, but whilst we had your thought, we've got the man here himself to answer this. So, Paul, it's a long question, and I'll say it out loud for anyone who's listening because one of the updates is we're now on podcast, which is when interviewing / considering a project / product for incubation / investing in, does PCC require timeframes for said launches to start? And if so, what happens if the unfortunate case those parameters aren't met?
That is a long question. Okay. The seat's never been hotter. So I think that this is a multi-parted question. So there have been situations where we've gotten into partnerships and timeframes aren't met. We make sure that those timeframes are clearly indicated in contracts. And if those timeframes haven't been met, what we do is we start having conversations with those folks. They're friendly, they're amicable, but our community deserves a timeline, just like we deserve a timeline internally. And we start having those conversations. As far as when interviewing, considering products for incubation, when I did make the transition to VP of Business Development in the beginning of May, one of the first things I did was collaborate with operations, and we implemented a new process for potential projects and partnerships. I still personally look at the vast majority of them. Since May, I've looked at a total of 11 projects, 2 of which have kind of passed the initial sniff test. The initial sniff test is I start looking at the business plans, the proposals, white papers, whatever it may be. And then I start kind of bringing in colleagues, getting feedback, all that good stuff. So of those 11, 2 had made it past. One in particular was very cool, but unfortunately it did not make it through the final round. And then we still have one that's in the pipeline that we're working towards getting to a point where we feel comfortable bringing it to the community. I will be, again, candid with you guys. I am the reason that we've been a little bit slower to the uptick when it comes to bringing on collaborations and partnerships for round 2 nests. That is 100% my fault, and I take full responsibility for that. When AVAX was at over $100 and we had claims and maintenance fees coming in, it made our treasury a lot bigger, a lot faster. I think it's paramount to make sure we are as tactical as possible with the treasury that we have on hand to make sure that it's a profitable entity for round 2 nests. So I don't know if I just added a question to an already very long question, but I hope I did answer the question. I think I might have just pulled a Will Ferrell from Old School and blacked out for a second. So hopefully that suffices.
Personally, it really has. And I know Kuz, our producer, he's in the background. He's keeping an eye on the comments. So I know he would bring something up if you didn't answer that question sufficiently enough. Ultimately, though, Paul, what you're saying is, although it may have came later on in the journey of PCC, rest assured now this ship is running with some tight restraints and for good reason. So I don't want you to be too critical of yourself, Paul, by saying, hey, look, round 2 it's slow for a very good reason. Because when you move fast, you can make a lot of mistakes, as of which we've seen already.
Yeah,
And we're not looking to repeat those.
yeah. I think the bottom line is if you want to know something personal about me,
Please.
at the end of the day, accountability, humility, and honesty are some of the probably the three most important traits when it comes to who I am as a man and as a person. So um, I love that feedback. I also feel like I've been talking way too much, so you can kick me out of here if you want.
Well, look, unfortunately, Paul, I am going to kick you off because this is my show and I have some more questions to answer for the community.
For sure.
You know for a fact, I would love to have you back. I'm sure the community are not bored of hearing from you. In fact, they probably want to hear from you a lot more. So,
Well, one quick thing that I'd love to point out. I say cuz, you say coos, but cuz Coos and I have been talking about trying to take some time to maybe open up some public voice chats on Discord, where we can just kind of chat with community on a more casual basis. When I'm not wearing a suit, I'm in my t-shirt and my shorts kind of thing. But if we can get some feedback from the community, if that's something they'd be amenable to, that's something that I'd really like to do when I have a little bit of extra time, and something I think that Cuz Coos would like to do too.
I'm sure he would. I'm sure he would. Before you go, Paul, I want to say personally thank you for finding the time to join us. I know the community, whether they're joining us live right now, we've got nearly 100 people watching live, at least on YouTube, who are hearing you for the first time, Paul. So when you go to Discord tomorrow, I'm optimistic that you'll be welcomed. You'll also be questioned, I'm sure. If you
For sure, yeah. I'm sure, yeah.
But what's nice is, like me, we don't shy away from the challenging questions. Just make sure, of course, you tag either one of us, Phoenix Paul. That's how you'll find him in the Discord. Apart from that, Paul, is there anything that you'd like the community to remember before you leave?
If I had a battle cry, it'd be charcuterie. I love yelling that word. That's all I got. Thanks, man. I appreciate your time.
It's a pleasure, Paul. Ciao for now, King. Well, everyone, I hope that was refreshing, although a sobering message from Paul, our VP of Business Development and Operations, someone that you all needed to hear and someone who mentors me, right? This is someone who I lean on in times of resistance that we are facing now to really make good decisions. So now we move on to the segment of the show where we're just over halfway and we answer the most important questions from you, the community. And of course, if we don't have an answer, we come back and we make sure we have that for you. So the first question, which actually leads on from last week, and I have to start with an apology because I'm learning something new every day in this space. Naively, I thought USDC.E was exclusive to the Avalanche network and that USDC was not compatible. Turns out I was wrong. I apologize. USDC is. Now, why have we chosen for the fees in V4 to be with USDC.E? Well, the simple answer is it's easier for accounting department if we use a single option, but we are considering allowing both USDC and USDC.E to be compatible to pay your fees moving forward. So again, as always, community, your voice gets heard and that gets over to leadership. Next, after V4, will current Nest holders have the first option to buy Nests others want to sell? So if you aren't aware, we are upgrading the smart contract and allowing you to leave PCC. For whatever reason right now, it's no longer what you want to invest in, and we don't want to keep you tied in for that reason. We want to allow your Nest to be tradable, and the answer is it won't be exclusive to Nest holders. Anyone will be able to come onto the D app on our website. Your Nest won't be an NFT, and it will be tradable from wallet to wallet. Okay. Are we taking royalties? I'll come on to that question in a moment. The short answer, no. But to answer this one, what you have to keep in mind is although it's not exclusive to Nest holders, because you're part of the community, you will be the first ones to know, and you'll have that head start to either sell or buy round one Nests. Next, is it possible for PCC to earn royalties off peer-to-peer sales of Nests and use that to replace maintenance fees? Now, this was asked last week. I didn't have an answer, and nor did Eric, because we hadn't considered this. And actually, we hadn't considered this for good reason. Although, from a business perspective, oh, wow, excellent. we can now earn some new revenue, and we put that revenue towards reducing maintenance fees or eliminating them. At the same time, the people selling their nests are people who want to get out of the project, and ethically and morally, it's not right for us to take any more money away from either party. So no, there will be no royalties. There'll be no money that comes back to PCC from any nests sold. Next, when will V4 smart contract be implemented? Well, as you're hearing about all these features that are coming, we had previously mentioned that the end of July, V4 was coming. Why is it delayed? Delayed for good reason. One, because you, the community, asked about fees being paid in a stablecoin. Well, just before the contract was signed and everything was going to be sent off and deployed, Eric, our CEO, rightly said, hold on, that's a really smart feature. Now, it's taken us a little bit more time to implement a stablecoin being used as your maintenance fee, but we'd rather get it right in one upgrade than have to deploy V4 in July, then have to put out V5 in September. I'm giving arbitrary timelines because I know what you're like, but V5 somewhere down the line. So when is V4 coming? I'm not going to give you a timeline. We are no longer going to be giving you timelines of when things will be happening. Instead, we're going to give you milestones of where we are with the progress. And as always, with our new policy, we will give you at least 48 hours before any changes are made, so you can make any adjustments needed. And finally, can round 1 rewards also increase to 0.125 per day per nest when the V4 upgrade is made? Now, we hadn't considered this a couple of weeks ago. And in fact, because we had increased round 2, we were like, well, that's already a change we're making. Round 1, why would we need to do it over here? Then again, we listened to the community and it was like, well, hold on, you're the OGs. Round 1 nest holders, you were with us when it wasn't per se as sexy. And so why should we be benefiting new people coming in exclusively and not actually giving back to our OGs and increasing their rewards? So this is being considered as of today by Eric and the rest of the team about increasing round 1 rewards. This isn't me saying it will happen. This isn't me saying it will be 0.12. It will be considered. And I'm confident that there'll be an answer fairly soon about whether or not this will be happening. And of course, what that rate will be before V4 goes live. So just so you all know, your voice is heard. We'll make the changes. What's not just good for business, but ultimately what's good for you, the nest holder. Now we come to the promised updates. So I've got 2 updates for you. Number 1 is we're now moving our Phoenix Table Talks and our Phoenix Weekly Updates every Friday, where we condense the biggest wins of our entire ecosystem to about a 5-minute video, 5-minute article every single Friday. And we're putting both Phoenix Table Talks and the Phoenix Weekly Updates onto both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So now you can keep up to date when you're doing the washing, whilst you're at work, or whilst you're on the move. Because we understand that you, the community, you consume information in a variety of forms. And arguably, you may not want to see me or Paul all the time, and you might just want to hear our voices instead. Now we come on to next week's guest and some news from Spectrum NFT. We will be joined by the CMO, Johnny, once again, but he's not alone because we have a new partnership. We are joined by Lee Chadwick, a professional mixed martial artist, so close to my heart as I love mixed martial arts. And he'll be talking about his partnership. And I can't give away too much because then it'll be ruining and you'll never come next week. But ultimately, come join us next week. Find out how athletes, entertainers, thought leaders are now coming into the NFT market and how they're going to be positioning themselves with not just a pretty JPEG, but how they're going to be building utility behind it. Because if you're not seeing the masses are coming, athletes are understanding there's value and there's a whole new business here within NFTs. And what Spectrum NFT do differently to every single marketplace is they hold the hand of the talent from idea, creation, to, of course, getting it into the end hands of their customers. So meet, arguably, our first partner for Spectrum NFT on the show next week, Lee Chadwick, professional MMA fighter. And you're going to find out his illustrious history and also the future that holds for him and his career and his relationship with Spectrum NFT. With that being said, it's now time to close things out. So with my producer, hit the music. It's been an absolute pleasure. I appreciate every single one of you that joins us every single week to find out some exciting news and some also sobering thoughts. I hope hearing Paul today really nailed home where PC is heading, and that even during times of resistance, where resources may be scarce, we're more resourceful than ever before. So it goes without saying, have an incredible evening, and we'll see you next week. Ciao for now.